What we're going to show you guys how to do today is to do a double hugged stiff rig for game lures. Now we use this rig throughout most of our lures, anywhere from our sort of 7-inch skirts upwards to our sort of 14-inch skirts. Depending on the skirts we're using is depending on the hook size that we're going to use, which I'll explain to you later on. To make a stiff rig, first of all, we've obviously got our two hooks. These are Jabu hooks. Now with the Jabus, you need to run a little anode over the shank of the hook. This will actually keep the hook sharp and stopping it from blunting from salt water. So we just put it, wrap it around it, one done, and the same with the shank of our other hook. Now, stage one, what we do, we got our 400-pound multi-strand wire and our relevant crimp. This is a double crimp for wire. You can see it's got two little sides. What we do, we run the wire through one side of the crimp, through the eye of our hook, bend it back over and run it through the other side of our double-edged crimp. Push it down fairly tight, not too tight, giving you a little eye here. We'll show you to stiffen it up in a little bit. We then get our crimping tool. These are a little hand swedge or a hand crimping tool. You'll find you'll buy them with three different sizes or different crimps. Over the double-sided crimp, right to the edge with wire crimps, and squeeze it down tight. We do the same the other side of the crimp, and also in the middle. Can get a bench crimps, which makes this job a lot easier, but they run up to sort of $500 sort of dollars. We've now got one hook crimped in place. Now, to be to IGFA standards, if you guys are going to go out there and chase fish around and for tournaments and stuff like that, with your double hooked rig, the U-bend in the top hook has got to sit above where the eye is on your second or trailing hook. In other words, you can't have it sitting further down here. Now, depending on where or the size of the skirt that you're going to use will depend how far up you run it. But we get little spacers and stuff where we can sit it further back in the skirt. When you're rigging it to IGFA standards, part of this hook here has actually got to sit inside the skirt. We'll explain that in later videos. So if we run it back up here, we're going to run it at approximately 3 inches above the eye of the hook here. Bring ourselves up here a little bit further, a little bit more wire to work with. Get our cutters. Cut our wire. We then get our second crimp. Again, run the wire through one side. Go over the top eye of your top hook. Run the wire through and bring it down. Now, when you're going to rig this in your lure, your hooks will always go through the water like the keel of a boat. They're basically going to go like this along the shank of the hook. So if you're going to rig them either straight or the best way is sort of slightly offset, so if the fish hits it at a different angle, you get a better chance of holding it. If you rig it all the way around here, you're going to end up in trouble, because what will happen is the rig will actually spin. Okay, so slightly off center. Okay, get your eye or your bend here on your wire, bend it back around the eye of your top hook. And then go through the other side of your crimp. Your crimping tools. And again, squeeze your crimp good and tight on the relevant size in your crimping tool. Okay, basically now got our double hook rig, but as you can see it's all loose and sloppy, so we want to tighten it up. We want to call it what's called a stiff rig. Now to do this, we get heat shrink. You can buy this from any auto electricians or most electrical wholesalers. You get it in different sizes. The size that you choose is going to be dependent on the hook you're working with, because you want the rubber here, or the hole in your heat shrink, to go over the eye of the hook. First of all, we rig it on our top hook. We want to rig it from the eye, just below the eye, along the shank, just before it begins to bend. So we measure off the relevant amount. Cut it. Squeeze it over the eye of the hook, down along the shank of the hook, over the wire, squeeze it down, 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 and you'll see the eye just pop up just here. Now, we get our heat source, our good big lighter, and we run it up and down over the heat shrink. Okay, you can see this one is already stiffened up. Now we want to do the bottom hook. Bottom hook, we want to extend it from here to down just below the eye of our bottom hook. So we measure off the relevant amount again. Cut it. This time we go on from the gape of the bottom hook. Squeeze it on around the shank, all the way around. Bring it out here, around the bend, and then we push it on up over the eye, all the way up to just here. Twist it so it's slightly offset, as I said. Then what we do, we get our heat source again. Keep this straight. The little trick is to sort of balance it somewhere. Run it up and down the heat shrink. That's it rigged just there. We're going to show you how to do a shackle rig in a little bit, but this is a basic straightforward double hooked stiff rig.